Does it sound good? We are just waiting for sound to come through. It's Saturday baseball. Yes, it is. Saturday fantasy baseball. Season's almost coming to an end, but we are still here, and we will continue to be here throughout the season, just like we always do. I'm just waiting for the sound to come through the chat room so we can give all our friends an update on the playoff spots, the playoff chances. It's taking a while for it to come through today, so we'll just keep refreshing till we get it. And you know, I always like to tell you that we do podcasts here at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live every day at 9 a.m. And the sound is good, so I will tell the chat room. Okay.
Sound is good.
All right, great. Nice to see you, Dodger Danny Fuller. Penny, his wife, the good wife behind the smile of Danny Fuller. Refresh, Boston Paul's here. And we will, Boston Paul says, name the 5 players that have gone 40-40, and we will definitely do that today as it is part of our tidbits on this Saturday morning. Great to see you, Unholy Toledo, SM King Turd, Turd Jr., Tommy Johnson, Malpal, Rotorius. Great to see you all. Data Premier, Chris from Cambridge, Boston Paul, and a couple guests, and it's so nice. Let's get started. Now, the Houston Astros hang on last night. They won 2-1, and they're now about to move within one game of the Texas Rangers for the AL West lead. King Turd protesting Gabe Kapler over ever being a Ranger. I would do the same. Get your signs out in protest. Gabe Kapler has to be the biggest virtue signaling manager to ever set foot in MLB, and I am not sad, and I will not shed one tear for Gabe Kapler, because what comes around goes around, and maybe you should have tried doing your job instead of keeping your people in the clubhouse during the national anthem. That's just my personal opinion. I don't care if anybody agrees with me. You're all my friends, and that's that. And we all have a right to how we feel. I will not cry one tear for Gabe Kapler. The Cubbies, unholy playoff hopes, now on life support after they lost to the Brewers 4-3 in 10 innings. The Cubbies. Now, here's the thing. I mean, as much as we loved what the Cubbies did this year with Bellinger and even Marcus Stroman when he was doing well, and by the way, Unholy brought up yesterday, he's definitely not opting out of his contract now, so whether the Cubs like it or not, they're stuck with Marcus Stroman for another season. But it was a great story. David Ross, being the great manager, players manager that he is, took this team and did a great job with a mediocre at best team. We talked about it a while back. Unholy, our resident Cubbies fan, said, you know, it doesn't really matter if they make the playoffs because they're just an average team and they won't get far. And that's probably true. But right now it's coming down to the wire and the club's playoff hopes are on life support. So the Marlins' magic number is now 1. The Marlins recorded their 6th win of the season when trailing by 3 or more runs at the end of the 7th inning. That's the most by any Major League Baseball team in a single season in the modern era. The Marlins pulled off a 4-3 comeback victory over the Pirates, moving closer to their first postseason berth in a full season since 2001. The Marlins scored 4 runs in the top of the 8th and beat the Pirates 4-3. Now the Toronto Blue Jays' magic number is 1. Jose Urquidy came in to start for the Astros last night since J.P. France was scratched due to a family emergency. We'll talk more about what Urquidy did, but he has been pitching out of the bullpen recently, and last night he got a call about noon, and they said, please, can you start the game today? And he said, absolutely, and I think he did okay, but we'll talk more about that as the Nuggets continue. Now, Corbin Carroll. This season's National League rookies, okay, led by Corbin Carroll, have combined for 395 stolen bases. That's the most stolen bases that National League rookies have combined for in a season since 1899, when rookies stole 478 bases. Right now, they have a combined 395, taking second place on the list of the most stolen bases by a rookie in the National League.
Unholy Toledo counted the stolen bases that year.
What?
Unholy Toledo was at the game.
And Unholy Toledo was at the game in 1899. All right. Unholy does reiterate what we were talking about a second ago. He said 82 wins is all anyone should have realistically expected from the Cubbies. They lost so many games in September, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. The Reds and the Cardinals have been playing each other since 1882. Yesterday's 17-run win was the Reds' second largest versus the Cardinals, behind only a 19-1 win in 1882, the very first season that they started playing together, and Lenny and Unholy were both at the game, right?
No question about it.
He says no question about it. Okay. Now, Juan Soto, all right, doing good, finally. Didn't help my fantasy team. I traded Austin Riley for Juan Soto to Boston Paul, and it didn't work out in my benefit. But Juan Soto, he's reached base in 31 straight games, which is excellent. And during that span, he's batting .345 with a .460 on-base percentage, 11 home runs, and 32 RBI. Great to see you, Zelmo and Tony. Hope you're cleaning up the kitchen this morning, Zelmo. Most consecutive games reaching base safely to start a career since 1900. Think of this. Nolan Schanuel ranks 4th on the list of most consecutive games reaching base safely to start a career since 1900. He has 28, although his active streak ended yesterday, so he is stuck in 4th place for that.
It was extended yesterday.
Oh, he extended it. Oh, holy moly. So listen to this. He's in 4th right now with 28, okay? 28 most consecutive games reaching base safely. One more game, and he will tie Eno Slaughter for 1938 with 29 consecutive games reaching base safely to start a career. The Royals, the first team in the modern era to enter a game with 100 or more losses and have their first 10 or more batters of a game reach base without recording an out. Yes, yesterday the Royals' first 10 batters reached base and there were no outs that whole time. Talk about a bad season, a disappointing season. We could talk about some of those players all winter long. We'll be talking about all kinds of things. Of course, we're going to cover the World Series, the playoffs, and then we go straight from that to Arizona Fall League information. We talk about all the rookies at the Arizona Fall League making a splash. We talk about the Winter League in the southern countries. We talk about players that were disappointing, whether or not we're going to like it. And Malpal right now is working on a great podcast. It will be a do not miss podcast talking about potential breakout pitchers. We were putting together the podcast yesterday. Malpal has been using this formula for the last 4 or 5 years. It does work. I guarantee it works. We'll tell you what it is. We'll tell you what to look out for. We'll tell you some pitchers to be on the lookout for next year's breakout pitchers, and that podcast will come sometime this off season. Absolutely get ready for that. You will not hear it on any other channel. Malpal came up with this formula on his own, and we've been testing it the last 4 or 5 years, and believe me when I tell you it works. We just have to name this formula, but we don't need to name it. We could still use it. Carlos Rodon, one of the worst disappointments of my fantasy season, faced 8 batters yesterday without recording an out in his start against the lowly Royals. It's the most by a starter without recording an out since 2019. Let's talk about Miggy Cabrera, who's done after this season. What a great asset to baseball. We're going to lose somebody very special in Miguel Cabrera, but he did get a job yesterday, and I'll update you on that. He's going to stay with the Tigers organization. He's going to work with the coaches and the management, and I promise you we have not heard the end of Miggy in baseball. But the most consecutive seasons played receiving MVP votes: Henry Aaron, 19 consecutive seasons. Stan Musial, 16. Barry Bonds, 15. Yogi Berra, 15. And Miguel Cabrera, 14 straight consecutive seasons receiving MVP votes. But Cabrera is the longest such streak that began with the player's debut season. So from the day that Miguel Cabrera became a professional Major League Baseball player, he started getting MVP votes and kept getting them every year since. Another hero in baseball that I will always love and always look up to, Terry Francona, who took the Red Sox to a World Series in 2004. What a great man. What a great manager. I actually got the privilege of sitting in a press meeting with him after a game when we had passes for Sirius. We got to go in the clubhouse. We got to sit in the press conference. Terry Francona, excellent guy, rode his moped to work every day. He's won more than 900 regular season games in Cleveland. There's 3 other managers that are active who have won 800 games with one team, but maybe not their current team. I want to hear from the chat room. Name the 3 other active managers who have won 800 games with one team, perhaps not their current team, and I'll give you some time to figure that one out. There's 3 active managers that have won 800 games with one team. Now, MLB teams have scored 9 runs in the first inning of a game 3 times this season, and 2 of those came against the Yankees. Yes, the Yankees. All right, SM King Turd feels bad for Rodon owners. Me too, myself included. Money well spent on Rodon? No. SM King Turd says he looks forward to hearing the podcast with Malpal's formula. It's absolutely going to be worth your listen. Boston Paul says outside of any Red Sox player, his personal favorite, Miguel Cabrera. He drafted Cabrera before any of his fantasy opponents knew who he was and laughed at him for drafting him. Isn't that great when someone laughs at you and then you get the final laugh? I love it, okay? Now, Malpal says, if there's a pitcher you want covered, just drop the name in the chat room over the next few weeks. We will talk about a few. We're going to talk about a lot of different things on that podcast. It's going to be good. We're looking forward to it, so I thought I'd prepare the chat room. Okay? If Oakland has a -3 run differential this weekend, they'll pass the 2003 Detroit Tigers for the worst run differential in modern baseball. All right. Boston, Paul, you're crazy. And now it's my turn to laugh at you. So if you do, should you get the last laugh, I'll let you. He thinks that Meneses will be a Hall of Famer. You're getting a little crazy this morning, Boston Paul. I mean, I know you have a man crush on this guy, but don't forget how old he is, okay? And he's not no young rookie over here, okay? Anyways, SM King Turd guesses Bochy and Dusty. Bruce Bochy and Dusty Baker. That is 2 of the 3. There's one left, Malpal. One manager left who's won 800 games with one team and not necessarily their current team. SM King Turd absolutely guessed Bochy and Dusty Baker. Good morning, Big Al on the prowl. Great to have you around. More guesses, one more manager, people. Speaking of this, the Padres were finally eliminated from playoff contention, meaning the top 3 payroll teams in baseball, the Mets, the Yankees, and the Padres, will not make the postseason. And you're right, it is Bob Melvin. It's the second time in the wild card era since 1995 that this has happened when the top 3 payrolls did not make the playoffs. It happened in 2008 with the Yankees, the Mets, and Detroit. The Padres, listen to this. I mean, this is not a bad team. They have problems getting it together, but I'll tell you what. They have this year's Cy Young contender in Blake Snell. They have 3 25-plus home run hitters. They're the second best team in ERA in the National League. They have a closer in Hader with a 1.16 ERA. They have the third highest offensive FWAR in the National League and the third fewest errors in the National League, and yet they still are not going to make the playoffs. There are problems with this team that do not include their players. I would say the number one problem on that list is Preller, who is still under contract for the next couple years, which is why our resident Padres fan thinks that Preller, instead of Melvin, will be with the team next year. I mean, how many losing seasons can you take before you give up on somebody? I disagree with Malpel. I think Preller, high time to go. He does not get along with Bob Melvin, who is one of the most beloved managers in baseball, clearly can win with his teams, as he did win 800 times with Oakland. However, Preller being under contract, is that enough for this Padres team to keep this losing manager around? Or whatever he is. He's the president of baseball. I don't know what's Preller's job title. Whatever it is, it's loser. He's a loser. Bottom line. Not like a personal loser, but a game loser. He can't put a team together. I've looked at his win-loss record. Malpel has showed me so many times because Malpel, being the good fan of the Padres that he is for the last 40 years or so, has sent me so many times Preller's record, and it's miserable. So let's go. Let's get rid of Preller and get this team on track. I say keep Bob Melvin, and that's it. J.P. Crawford, one of Mariners' biggest assets. J.P. Crawford, grand slam yesterday. One day after his bases loaded, 2-run walk-off double. He is 11 for 16 with the bases loaded this season. 2 MLB players have had a walk-off hit in the final series of a season with their team trailing the game and fighting for a playoff spot. One is the Mariners' J.P. Crawford, and the other is Bobby Thompson with his shot heard round the world in 1951 when Unholy and Lenny were at the game. Okay, we're talking about this great hockey league that Zelmo set up, and I guarantee he's a better commissioner than me, but we love Zelmo. He's a huge hockey fan, and I'm really looking forward to hearing how this league works out for you guys. Dodgers' Freddie Freeman hasn't felt good about his swing lately, so it was time for some high tea this afternoon. The result was his 29th home run and 59th double. Ground ball through the middle of the infield, and Dodgers' Freddie Freeman turns into his 59th double of the season. He only needs one more home run and one more double for the first 30-60 season in MLB history. That's 30 homers and 60 doubles. Bobby Witt Jr., he just crushed his 30th home run. He is the first Kansas City Royals player ever with a 30-homer, 30-stolen base season. He is one stolen base away from a 30-50 season. Bobby Witt Jr., the fourth player to join the 30-30 club this year. That's not normal, okay? We hardly ever see more than 3 guys get 20-20, 3 to 5 in a season, who make it to 20 homers and 20 stolen bases. And right now we have 4 players with 30 homers and 30 stolen bases. Ronald Acuna, of course, being one of them. Julio Rodriguez and Francisco Lindor. From 2013 to 2022, there were a total of 5 players that reached 30-30. Think of that. That's 9 years. There were only 5 total players in 9 years to reach 30-30. If Kyle Tucker gets 1 more home run and 1 more stolen base, there will be 5 just this season. Like I said, that is not normal, okay? Let's go to the games. I hope everybody's doing great. And Holy and the dogs, everybody doing good. Let me have a sip of coffee. Okay. The Marlins moved closer to a postseason berth with a 4-3 win over the Pirates. Now, Miami's magic number to earn the third and final wild card spot in the National League fell to 1 when it surged past the Pirates, and the Cubbies fell in Milwaukee in 10 innings. It's heady territory for a club that hasn't reached the playoffs in a 162-game season since the 2003 World Series, when most of the current roster was in elementary school or younger. It's been 2 decades of losing, okay? Miami had just 1 runner reach third base over the first 7 innings. Huascar Brazoban earned the victory with the scoreless 7th, and Tanner Scott earned his 11th save in 15 chances. Miami improved to 33-13 in 1-run games, a turnaround from 24-40 last year. Edward Cabrera allowed 3 runs, 2 earned, 6 hits with 3 walks in 3 2/3 innings. 5 relievers held Pittsburgh scoreless over the final 5 1/3 innings. The Marlins are growing stronger as the season winds down. Their 16-9 run in September has them assured of finishing over 500 for the first time since 2009. Andy Rodriguez had 2 hits and an RBI for the Pirates. Leover Piguero and Connor Joe also had 2 hits, but the bullpen faltered late as the Pirates lost for the 9th time when leading after 7 innings. Tonight you get to see JT Chargois, Gois, I'm not sure, against Quinn Priester. Miggy had 3 hits, including 2 doubles, but the Indians, it's so interesting, the writer forgot that they changed their names, and they said Miguel Cabrera. All right, but the Cleveland Indians beat the Detroit Tigers 7-5. That's okay. We just call them Cleveland. Cal Quantrill gave up 8 hits and 4 runs while striking out 3 in 5 innings. He got the win. He only made 2 starts between May 30th and September 1st due to shoulder injuries.
These are the last game notes of the season.
We have game notes tomorrow, Leonard.
Yeah, but, regular season game notes.
Isn't... Okay. Anyway. Emmanuel Clase, 44th save. Now, Cabrera is playing the last 3 games of his career. He doubled in his first 2 at-bats to raise his total to 626, breaking a tie for 13th place and moving 2 ahead of Hank Aaron. Miggy singled in the 7th for his 3,173rd hit. His 2 hits gave him 897 multi-hit games. That's 1 more than Rod Carew for 17th place in Major League history. The 2 doubles gave him 93 career extra base hits against Cleveland, the most by an active player. Jose Abreu is second with 63. That's 30 less extra base hits against Cleveland, so good luck with Abreu. He also, Miggy, got a job on Friday as the teams announced he will serve as a special assistant to team president Scott Harris. It's a player development role originally designed by Dave Dombrowski for Willie Horton and Al Kaline. Horton, Alan Trammell, Kirk Gibson, Jim Leland, and Lance Parrish currently serve this job, welcoming Miggy to the role. He'll be great. Tyler Freeman hit a 3-run homer. Cleveland scored 4 runs in the 3rd inning. Ramon Laureano walked and stole second. Bo Naylor, 2-run homer. Zach McKinstry, 2-run homer. Parker Meadows 2-run triple. Torkelson led off the ninth with his 31st homer. Again, who was the choice yesterday, Leonard? Torkelson and
Martinez.
Or J.D. Martinez. I'm definitely taking Torkelson. All right. Francona, retiring at the end of the season, received a great video tribute from A.J. Hinch after the top of the first inning, followed by a standing ovation from the crowd. Oh, it makes me sad. Francona's leaving. McKenzie will be up tonight against, we don't know, the Tigers have not announced, but they did say they will use a series of relievers tonight. Four starts into his comeback from Tommy John surgery, and John Means believes he can help the Orioles in the playoffs. Means took a perfect game into the fifth inning, but they did lose 3-0 to the Red Sox. This 4-game series has started much differently than the team's previous meetings. In the first 9 Baltimore-Boston games this season, the Orioles and the Red Sox combined to average 14.3 runs a game. This week, they've traded shutout victories 2-0 and 3-0. Nick Pivetta allowed 2 hits in 7 impressive innings. Pivetta's name will be in the podcast when we talk to Malpal. Pivetta struck out 10 with a walk. He finished strong. He threw 7 scoreless innings in each of his last 2 starts. Trevor Story hit a 2-run homer off of Means, and Means pitched into the 7th inning. He looked like a solid option for Baltimore when it sets up its postseason rotation. He retired his first 13 batters. He allowed 3 hits and 6 1/3 with 4 strikeouts and didn't walk anybody. Kyle Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez look like the top candidates to start for the Orioles in the American League Division Series, but beyond that, it's harder to say. Garrett Whitlock, first save of the season. Rafael Devers drove in a run. He needs 1 more RBI for his 3rd career 100 RBI season. And tonight you get to see Kyle Gibson against Cutter Crawford. Can we all call now Josh Donaldson the Milwaukee Messiah? Yes, he's done great. Of course, Andrea, you won't have a Dodger on your team. LOL. BS. I will too have Freddie Freeman on every team if I can. I'll take Mookie Betts. I'll take a couple of their young pitchers. I have no problem with the players. I have a problem with the management. Alejandro Kirk homer, drove in 3 runs. Bo Bichette had 4 hits, and the Toronto Blue Jays put themselves on the brink of a playoff berth by beating the Rays 11-4. One more win or a Seattle loss would give Toronto an American League wild card. Brandon Belt and Matt Chapman each hit solo home runs. Bichette went 4 for 5 with an RBI and scored 3 times as Toronto pounded out 16 hits to win for the 9th time in the last 13 games. Yes, the Blue Jays are trying hard right now. They deserve to get in, absolutely. Vladdy Jr. went 3 for 4 with a walk, and Biggio actually finished 2 for 4 with a walk and 2 RBIs. The Blue Jays scored in double figures for the 11th time and matched a season best by moving 18 games above 500. Tampa Bay has gone 5-6 against Toronto this season. Yandy Diaz returned as the Rays' designated hitter after missing 2 games because of a sore right hamstring. He hit a 2-run homer, his 22nd of the season. Kevin Cash does say that Diaz will likely sit out today and play again tomorrow. Lenny's favorite pitcher, Kikuchi, 11-6 now, allowed 3 runs and 5 hits in 5+ innings, improving to 4-0 in 4 career home starts against the Rays. He walked 2 and struck out 4. Kirk hit a solo home run off Aaron Savale in the 2nd, which is only his 8th of the season. He's a sleeper for next year because people are going to forget that he is actually a very good hitter. He had a horrible season. We all thought he'd do better, but don't forget about Alejandro Kirk next year. He's going to be on this good team in a good lineup, and he hasn't lived up to his potential. He's got good plate discipline. Aaron Savale, let's see. Kirk hit a homer off of Aaron Savale. It was his 8th of the season. He also had a 2-run single. Brandon Belt greeted right-hander Erasmo Ramirez with a homer in the fourth, which is his 18th of the season. So Belt's still pumping out homers. 18 homers this season. You got him for $1. Chapman hit a leadoff homer, his 17th. Belt and Chapman both homered for the second straight game. Biggio circled the bases in the fourth with a Little League homer when his single to center field skipped under the glove of Manny Margot and rolled to the wall for a 3-base error. Bichette scored from first base on the play. Savali faced 9 batters and got only 5 outs. Littell came on and got 4 outs, while Savali got some extra work in the bullpen after his 40-pitch outing, throwing another 35 pitches. Bichette has 6 games with at least 4 hits this year, matching Shannon Stewart for Toronto's single-season record. Ryu against Sean Armstrong tonight. Carter Kieboom, Jake Alou, Keibert Ruiz, Dominic Smith, and Lane Thomas homered to help the Nationals beat the Braves 10-6, right? This is not the first time that the Nationals have beat the Braves. But where's your boy Meneses? Austin Paul? Washington tied a season high for homers on a night the Braves started resting regulars to prepare for the postseason. Jordan Weems picked up the win with 1 inning of relief, and Kyle Finnegan closed out the game. The Nationals used 6 relievers after Trevor Williams gave up 2 runs and 7 hits in 3 1/3. Ronald Acuna went 1 for 2 with a run and 2 steals before being pulled after 2 innings. He tied the Braves' steals record of 72, set by Otis Nixon in 1991. Matt Olson was lifted for a pinch runner in the 3rd inning after getting an RBI single in the 1st and walking in the 3rd. Alan Winans gave up 6 runs in 5 1/3 and surrendered 3 home runs, and the Braves had won 4 straight. But Ruiz was 2 for 5 with 3 runs. Luis Garcia was 2 for 5. Breaks rookie Forrest Wall was starting in place of Michael Harris II. He was 3 for 5 with a run and a steal. With a 5-day layoff scheduled from the end of the regular season to Game 1 of the National League Division Series, the Braves have decided to take a more intense approach to the one they took last year during the same 5-day layoff. The Braves will play intra-squad games Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with the AAA Gwinnett team, and the games will be at 5 p.m. and are free to the public. 15,000 tickets were claimed off the Braves website over the first 24 hours. That's an excellent idea for the Braves. You gotta love it. Hold on. All right. Just reading up the chat room. Spencer Strider against Joan Adone today. All right, the high-spending Padres were eliminated from postseason contention despite a 3-2 win over the White Sox, and that prompted Macho Manny Machado to give his teammates a post-game pep talk. That's for you, Danny Fuller. Juan Soto was batting in the 7th inning when the Marlins completed a 4-3 come-from-behind win at Pittsburgh for their 83rd win, ensuring the Padres would not get one of the National League's 3 wild card berths. We already knew the Padres. It was a matter of time before they got kicked out. Despite winning 12 of their last 14 games, the Padres could not overcome a mostly sluggish performance by a star-filled team that started the season with the Major League's 3rd highest payroll at nearly $258 million. They had a 1-9 skid in early May, which dropped them below 500, and they last had a winning record on May 10th. They're 80-80 now. Baseball's 3 highest spenders all failed to reach the postseason. Chicago needs 2 wins to avoid its 5th 100-loss season and 2nd in 6 years. Dylan Cease allowed 1 run and 4 hits in 5 innings. Nick Martinez allowed 2 hits in 5 scoreless innings with a season-high 8 strikeouts. Yoan Moncada homered. Carlos Perez hit his first big league homer off Josh Hader, who finished for his 33rd save in 38 chances. Trent Grisham had a 2-run double, and tonight you get to see Michael Wacha and Mike Clevenger. The Unholy says the White Sox have a good chance to lose 100 games. He said in March, right here in this chat room, that we always overrate the White Sox, and I agree with you, that's true. Unholy, telling Danny Fuller that he's an intelligent fan, I don't know for sure. Dodger Danny calling Macho Manny a punk. Oh no, the Padres hiring Gabe Kapler. No thanks. Another night, another close loss for the Cubs, and this one pushed them to the brink of playoff elimination. The Cubs rallied from a 3-run deficit to force extra innings, only to lose 4-3 to the Brewers on Carlos Santana's run-scoring double in the 10th inning. Chicago fell 1.5 games behind Miami, which beat Pittsburgh for the National League's 3rd and final wildcard spot. The Marlins hold the tiebreaker over the Cubs. Cincinnati also pulled even with the Cubbies in the standings. Now, the Cubs seemed well on their way to earning a wild card berth less than 3 weeks ago when they had a 78-67 record. But the Cubs have gone 4-11 since, including losing their last 4 games by a total of 5 runs. They blew a 6-0 lead in a 7-6 loss at Atlanta on Tuesday. They fell 6-5 at Atlanta the following night, squandering 1-run advantages in the 9th and 10th innings. The Braves completed the sweep by beating the Cubs 5-3 on Thursday. Heimer Candelario homered, but Chicago couldn't close the deal. Caleb Bushley, a Wisconsin native making his Major League debut 2 nights before his 30th birthday, gave up Ian Happ's 417-foot game-tying homer in the 9th, but struck out Patrick Wisdom with the bases loaded in the top of the 10th. Bushley guessed that he had about 400 friends and relatives in attendance. He struck out 5 and allowed 1 run in only 2 1/3 innings. But in the 5th inning, the 37-year-old Santana hit his first triple since 2019, driving in 2 runs against Hendricks. The Brewers were resting their top pitchers as they prepare for the postseason, which is why Colin Ray was starting instead of Brandon Woodruff, who is expected to pitch Game 2 of Milwaukee's wild card series on Wednesday. Ray threw 5 scoreless innings. Candelario homered and Christopher Morel tripled and scored. Nico Horner fouled a ball off his left knee in the 6th inning and left the game an inning later. The Cubs said he just had a bruise. They also activated Adbert Alzolay from the injured list, who hasn't pitched since September 9th. Tonight you get to see Jordan Wicks against Eric Lauer. Bobby Witt Jr. admitted the pressure was beginning to mount and time running out to hit his 30th homer that would make the budding superstar the first Kansas City player to join the 30-30 club. The Royals did everything they could do to take the pressure off him yesterday. Every batter they sent up against Carlos Rodon scored, resulting in a 9-run first inning. So by the time Witt stepped to the plate in the 7th inning with a hit and an RBI already under his belt, the 23-year-old could swing freely for a chance to make history. By the time the ball landed in the left field stands, punctuating the Royals' 12-5 win, the celebration was underway. Also, Bobby Witt could join a much more exclusive group in the next 2 days. Along with 30 homers, he has 49 stolen bases and just needs 1 more to join Eric Davis, Barry Bonds, and Acuna Jr. as the only players in Major League history in the 30-50 club. Nobody felt worse Friday night than Carlos Rodon, except for his fantasy managers, who faced 8 batters and all of them scored, tying the most for any start without recording an out since at least 1901. He allowed 6 hits and 2 walks, and Kansas City went on to put their first 10 aboard to set a franchise record. Now, Rodon's fastball is averaging only 93.6 miles an hour, which is down from 95.3 season average. Jordan Lyles took advantage of the Royals' immense run support to earn his second straight win. He got through 6 shaky innings. He allowed 5 runs on 4 hits and a walk, but he struck out 4. Austin Wells hit a 3-run homer and finished with 4 RBI for New York. The Royals, they need to sweep the 3-game series to avoid equaling the 2005 team that lost 106 times for the most in franchise history. The Yankees need to win one of the last 2 games to ensure their 31st consecutive winning season. The miserable first year of Rodon's 6-year, $162 million contract came to a fitting conclusion. In 35 pitches without recording an out, Rodon allowed 4 singles, 2 walks, a double, and a no-doubt homer. Not even a visit from the New York pitching coach, Matt Blake, could slow down the damage. Apparently, Rodon turned his back on Blake, something Rodon and Boone both said afterward was wrong to do. I mean, it was the most batters faced without recording an out by a starter since 2009. Steven Matz did it when he was with the Mets. Rodon began the year on the injured list with a strained forearm and then dealt with a back injury that slowed his return, and he didn't make his debut till July 7th. He lost 4 of his first 5 starts. Not even a respectable last month for the 2-time All-Star could salvage this ERA, which plummeted last night to 6.85. And yes, feel free to shed some tears for me. The Yankees trimmed their 10-run deficit in half by the 6th inning, but Bobby Witt's homer in the 7th put the game away. Kenyon Middleton was activated from the injured list, and tonight you get to see Clark Schmidt against we don't know. Ryan Jeffers had 3 hits, including 1 of 3 Minnesota home runs, and Michael A. Taylor homered and tripled to help the Twins beat the Rockies 7-6. Trevor Larnach homered. Cody Funderbuck got the win in relief, and Funderbuck. Emilio Pagan picked up his first save for Minnesota. The Twins wrapped up their 3rd American League Central title in 5 years on Sunday. They are locked into the number 3 seed and will open the best of 3 wildcard series Tuesday at home against an opponent yet to be determined. The lead flipped 3 times in the final 5 innings yesterday. Alan Trejo, Brendan Rodgers, and Elehuris Montero homered for Colorado. Nolan Jones had 3 hits, and Charlie Blackmon had 2 hits on the day he signed a deal to remain with the Colorado Rockies for another season. His 6-year, $108 million contract ends tomorrow, but he and Colorado agreed to a 1-year deal for the 2024 season that prevents him from becoming a free agent. Blackmon has spent his entire 13-season big league career with Colorado. Only Todd Helton, at 17 seasons, played longer for the Rockies. Joe Ryan, who is an option for the postseason rotation, fell 3 strikeouts shy of 200 for the season. Baldelli said he would wait to give updates on injured players until the team returns to Minnesota. And the Twins and Rockies both plan on going with the bullpen day today. Pagan will open for Minnesota, while Colorado has not announced who will start. Felix Hernandez is still only 37 years old. Tina just asked what a thunderbuck is. Tina. Okay, I don't know. It's someone's last name, that's all. All right. Cincinnati hit 6 home runs, including Nick Martini's 3-run shot in the first inning, and beat the Cardinals 19-2. It kept the Reds alive in the National League wildcard race. Jonathan India, Spencer Steer, Encarnacion Strand, Noel V. Marte, and Tyler Stevenson all homered for the Reds, who scored their most runs since 2022. With the win and Chicago's loss to Milwaukee, Cincinnati is now tied with the Cubs 1.5 games behind Miami for the last National League wild card. The Cardinals at 69 and 91 have their most losses since 1990. Cardinals right-hander Adam Wainwright, who is retiring after 18 seasons with the team and announced on Tuesday that he had made his final start after getting his 200th win and wouldn't pitch again. He pinch hit in the 6th inning and grounded out to second base. Wainwright came to the plate with the Reds ahead by 12 runs. It was his first plate appearance since 2021. Wainwright is a 192 lifetime hitter and 743 career plate appearances with 10 home runs, and he won a Silver Slugger Award in 2017. Brandon Williamson allowed 2 runs on 5 hits in 6 innings for his first win since August, and Carson Spires pitched the final 3 innings for his first career save. Jake Woodford, 7 runs on 6 hits and 1 2/3 innings. Sorry. Got to give the guy credit for what he did, right? Richie Palacios, 2-run homer. Cincinnati's 6 homers were 1 home run short of tying the franchise single-game high in 2021. Will Benson drove in Ellie De La Cruz with a triple down the right field line and scored on India's home run in the 2nd inning to increase the Reds' lead to 6-0 before Steer hit his team-leading 23rd homer. Connor Phillips against Drew Rom tonight. Davis Daniel pitched 5 scoreless innings for his first Major League win. He helped the Los Angeles Angels beat Oakland 5-1 and sent the Athletics to their 111th loss of the season. Oakland only won 49 games so far. All right, they are on a 3-12 skid. They have the most losses in the Major League since Detroit went 47-114 in 2019. Los Angeles won for the 4th time in the last 15 games. Mickey Moniak, who had been out since September 5th, hit a 2-run homer in the 5th off of Waldichuk. Ken Waldichuk gave up 5 runs, 4 earned, 7 hits, and 3 walks in 5 innings. Oh, sorry, Tom Johnson. I don't know. Maybe I got confused and I called you the wrong name. Yes, I take vitamin D every day. I don't have sniffles. I just have... I don't know what it is. I'm snorting lines over here while I'm doing the show. Just kidding. Brent Rooker, an RBI double for the A's. Shanuel, walk in the 3rd inning, extended his on-base streak to 28 games at the start of his career. We already told you it's the 4th longest streak in Major League history. All right, 1 more and he'll be tied for 3rd. Shanuel was back in the lineup after missing 2 games with a bruised left knee. Joe Boyle will make his 3rd big league start, and Kenny Rosenberg will start or follow an opener. Jose Urquidy had already delivered 5 brilliant innings in an emergency start when Dusty Baker ambled to the mound in the 6th, ready to take him out of the game. But Jose Urquidy pleaded his case to stay in, and Baker left the mound convinced, so Urquidy followed by coaxing a double play grounder as part of 6 scoreless innings, and the Astros held off the Diamondbacks late for a critical 2-1 win. Houston holds the final wild card by a game over Seattle and moved within 1 game of Texas atop the American League West with 2 games to play. The loss denied Arizona a chance to clinch a postseason berth, but the Diamondbacks are still in good position to make the playoffs for the first time since 2017. They are in 2nd National League wildcard spot, a half game ahead of the Marlins and 2 games in front of the Reds and the Cubs. Jose Abreu hit a 2-run double. It was originally called a home run, but they reviewed it and they went back and ruled it a double. It's been a disappointing year for Abreu, who came into the game hitting just .234 with 17 homers in his first season with Houston. I'm jumping all over Abreu next year because I know that his price will be dropped down to very affordable. It already was last year. He still hit 17 homers. He's on a great team. I mean, this guy didn't have a good season, but if you look at his previous year's stats, I mean, he's obviously on the wrong side of his peak. But here's the thing. The guy hits every year. I mean, even when he was with the White Sox, he was still scoring 100 RBIs every year. How much has dropped? Well, I bet you he's one of the last full-time first basemen off the board. I bet you. He's not going to go high in drafts at all. But, I mean, I'm just going to take him next year. That's my decision. Ryan Presley, 31st save. The Astros had to start Urquidy after J.P. France was scratched because of a family emergency. Urquidy had been used out of the bullpen over the past month and had a 5.84 ERA coming into yesterday, but he was fantastic in his first start since August 23rd. He said he got a message from the coaches asking if he was ready to take the mound. He gave up just 2 hits and 3 walks. He struck out 2, and my favorite, Zach Gallen, gave up 7 hits and a walk over 6 1/3 innings. He did strike out 7. He's 17-9 on the season.
Jeter Luna was here.
Hello, Jeter and Tito Luna. Great to see you. SM King Turd says he's out on Abreu, but he would take him at the end of a draft, so we'll see. Yes, absolutely. I understand why, absolutely why you would pass, but it gets to a point, It gets to a point where you can't pass anymore. And we've seen a lot of players like this. It was JD Martinez last year that it got to a point where you couldn't pass on him anymore because you hardly had to spend anything on him. And of course, I didn't pick him. I picked the other loser that didn't do good. The Diamondbacks are celebrating the final homestand for veteran radio broadcaster Greg Schultz, who had called nearly 4,000 regular season and postseason games over the past 26 years. Schultz got to throw out the ceremonial first pitch and gave a pregame speech to the crowd. The Diamondbacks also played a montage on the video board celebrating some of his most famous calls, including the 2001 World Series winner. The team also renamed the radio booth the Greg Schultz Radio Booth. He's been with the franchise since its inception in 1998. Baker said he wasn't sure if France would return to the team this weekend, and Ryan Stanek was placed on paternity leave. Tonight you get to see Verlander and Merrill Kelly. J.P. Crawford grabbed the celebratory trident and raised it toward the sky, eliciting even more cheers from the fans in his home ballpark. Rarely has a home run, a grand slam in the midst of a playoff chase, felt as fulfilling as this one did for the Seattle Mariners. Crawford hit his 3rd career grand slam. Ty France and Josh Rojas had solo homers. The Mariners stayed in the thick of the American League playoff race with an 8-0 win over Texas. Seattle is 87-73. They remained 1 game behind Houston. We already told you all of this. There does remain the possibility of a 3-way tie for the division title. Crawford's grand slam, his 19th homer of the season, was off reliever Brock Burke, who came in specifically to face him. Okay? But Crawford did not miss, lining a pitch into the right field seat. He's 11 for 16 with 26 RBI this season with the bases loaded. Brian Wu labored into the 4th inning but pitched out of trouble and kept the Rangers scoreless. He needed 82 pitches to record 11 outs, but he struck out 5 and worked around 3 walks. Texas right-hander John Gray was placed on the 15-day injured list with a forearm strain, which is a huge blow to the staff heading into the playoffs. The Rangers were planning on starting Gray today. He's 9-8 with a 4.12 ERA and 29 starts this season. Good morning to Chris and Debbie Gallo. Is there a possibility that there's a playoff game to get into the playoffs? That's an interesting question. Texas announced post-game that Andrew Haney will start. He's pitched in relief in his last 6 appearances. His last start came on September 4th. He's going up against Luis Castillo, who's making his final start of the regular season, and Castillo is winless in 2 starts against the Rangers this season. Freddie Freeman made a little history by hitting his 59th double of the season. He then scored on a 3-run homer by J.D. Martinez, lifting the Dodgers past San Francisco 6-2. The Giants were managed by bench coach Correa. The Giants are 78-82. They will finish with a losing record after going 81-81 last year. They still need 2 wins this weekend to win the season series for the first time since taking 10 of 19 in 2021. The Dodgers have won 4 of the last 5 in the rivalry. The Giants have been limited to 2 runs or fewer in 6 straight games and dropped to 8-18 in September, the worst in the National League and tied for the last in baseball for the month. Lance Lynn allowed 2 runs on 2 hits, struck out 4 and walked 4 over 6 innings to win his 3rd straight decision. My boy Wilmer homered and hit an RBI single. Freddie Freeman's double matched Todd Helton in 2000 for the most doubles in a season in the majors since 1936 and the 7th most all-time. Will Smith was hit by a pitch before J.D. Martinez delivered his 33rd homer, chasing Giants righty Keaton Winn. Winn was activated before the game to make his 5th career start and first since September 16th. He had been on the COVID injured list since September 19th. San Francisco second baseman Thairo Estrada received the 2023 Willie Mack Award, named for the late Hall of Famer Willie McCovey. The honor is voted on by players, coaches, and training staff to recognize the Giants player who most exemplifies McCovey's inspirational ways on the field and in the clubhouse. Max Muncy had the night off to rest as a precaution to keep him fresh. Dave Roberts would like to see the Dodgers reach 100 wins this weekend, but not at the risk of anyone's health ahead of the playoffs. J.D. Davis was placed on the 10-day injured list with a strained left shoulder. Kyle Harrison, who was scratched from his scheduled start Tuesday due to illness, is set to pitch tomorrow's season finale. And Mitch Haniger, go figure, was placed on the 10-day injured list with a low back strain, retroactive to Tuesday. The Giants recalled infielder Casey Schmidt from AAA Sacramento, and option catcher Joey Bart to Sacramento, and Luke Jackson was reinstated from the paternity list. Tonight, Clayton Kershaw will pitch in his final regular season start, looking to improve on his 26-15 career record against San Francisco and the 1.99 ERA that's his lowest against any opponent with a minimum of 30 starts will go up against Tristan Beck. And there you have it. Right, Leonard? Wow. There you have it.
Wow.
The difference between the Padres and the Dodgers is that Manny Machado is the best. I don't know. I know it stinks. Dodger Danny, we don't like you. We like you. We don't like the Dodgers. All right. I do have kind of a stuffy nose today, so I guess I'll have to rest.
Great job.
Danny says absolutely Kershaw's max is going to be 5 innings, and thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for coming in on your Saturday morning and spending it with me. We're looking forward to the playoffs, and, it's coming down to the wire. So, whatever you think about extended playoffs, it really does help the season to be competitive all the way up to the end. Although, you got to kind of question if it's too many teams getting into the playoffs when the Padres are still in the playoff contention up till yesterday. It does kind of make you question, do we have too many teams getting in the playoffs if this is the case? And we know the teams that are probably going to be kicked out the first round, and they probably don't deserve to make it, but I do like it. I don't care. I'll take the pros over the cons with this one. I don't blame you if you don't like it, but I do like the extended playoffs. I also love that MLB is not just hitting this year, but they're hitting like crazy. I mean, we have, in the last 9 years, there were 5 players total, not in the last 9 years, in between 2013 and 2022, there were 5 players total to get 30 homers and 30 stolen bases in a season. Right now, we have 4 who have done that this season, with one a hit or 2 away in Kyle Tucker. That means we could tie the number of combined 30-30 seasons for 9 years just this season. It's exciting. So thanks for joining us. We're looking forward to some off-season fantasy, baseball prep, whatever. Thanks to everybody, and have a great weekend. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m., Lady and the Legend.